Holy light of God, the exquisite beauty of the Christ light is within you. The Christ light that in its honesty and its purity has the power to bring healing, transformation to all of humanity. The power of the light within is the power that lights the universe, the power that lives within the sun is in the power of the light within you. It is not a power that forces anything. There's no need of anything to be forced or to be pushed in any way. The power of the light within is the gentleness and ease of acceptance. As you accept every beloved, as the union of the divine soul, that with every beloved you see, and you have the opportunity and potential to see the reflection of God, the reflection of your light, the reflection of all that is the brilliance of God. As you accept this light within and you accept it for all humanity, you open to the confidence of God's direction. The Spirit of love is directing you, showing you the way, moment to moment. The exquisite guidance of love is always leading you. Accept the brilliance of this light that is you. The Christ light, the holy light, is the light of forgiveness. It's the light of compassion. It's the light of gentleness. And it's the light that is pure and honest in the harmony of God. As you accept the light, you affirm that the universe is all love. And that love is completely the light that you are. Affirming that this sanctuary is filled with love because nothing else is true. and nothing else is wanted. There is nothing that any beloved needs to do or to become. The light that you are is there for all eternity. It's just to remember, to allow that light to shine and heal and transform through love. There is only one presence here. It is the life force of God. And the life force of God, within this power, we live and move and breathe as one. Only love. This hymn that speaks to the Divine Mother as the Queen of the Forest. But this Queen of the Forest, all the aspects of the Divine Mother are all present in the aspect of the Divine Mother known as Mary, Mother of Jesus. Her title that was given to her as the Virgin Mother refers to her purity, her innocence, her awakened state of only love. And as we, in the journey of love, are called to embrace the comfort, the wisdom, the direction, the life force of the Divine Mother, and we let that energy of love lead and show the way back to innocence, back to the purity of love. And in the journey of love, we follow. We follow because it's the only way that the road reveals itself. It reveals itself through surrender. And so we follow, trusting in the power of the universe, trusting in the power of God's grace. A rainha da floresta, I will follow where you lead. I am going where you lead me, I will go. Rainha da floresta, I will follow where you lead. I am going where you lead. Rainha da floresta, I am going where you lead. I will follow, where you lead me, I will go. I am going to my mother to be healed. She takes me in her arms and to her I must go. Rainha da floresta, I am going where you lead. I am going where you lead me, I will go. A rainha da floresta, I love you so. I will go on with my mother, where she leads me I must go. I am going to my mother to be healed. I am going in the truth and to be real. I am going to my Father, and it's true. Oh, my mother, lead me home. It's now up to you. I am going to be healed in the heart of love. I am going into love. Rainha da floresta is calling us home. Come, my brothers, come, my sisters, come with me, let's go. In the journey of love, there's such a strong relationship with surrender. The surrender to love is being held. Oh, thank you, darling. Thank you. The surrender to love is being held at bay by the ego that is terribly afraid of surrender. That fear of losing control, of not knowing, because the ego life has been that the more you know, the safer you are. But it's always elusive because it never actually manifests as peace, as harmony, as joy. So the call to surrender is very strong because the fear of love is so strong. And in that surrender, there is an alignment that occurs that opens the door just enough that the truth comes through. And there is an awareness of, oh, this is what I've been looking for, to surrender and trust the power of love that rules the universe. I surrender. I give you my mind and my thoughts, dear God, and I put all my attention on the permanence of the light of creation. This light that is within the sun and the moon and the stars and the forest and the sea and the earth. The light shines through the permanence of God. And as we turn to the masters of love and surrender all the lies of separation, we affirm love itself. And we come to recognize that the eternal purity of love is so all-encompassing that it does come as a light that shines here on earth. And in that light, there is a purification that occurs as the light is accepted. The eternal love that is God shines every day. In everything that you look at, there is the light of God. And it is a marvelous light that illuminates all life itself. Vou ligar o meu pensamento só onde eu devo ligar. No sol, na lua, nas estrelas, na floresta, na terra, no mar. Esta estrada que estou andando, eu a mesmo mestre andou. É a estrada de Jesus Cristo, onde nós afirmamos o amor. O amor eterno de Deus vive em nós, mata sombrias. É uma luz maravilhosa que ilumina todo dia. The light that shines is not the light that appears to be day and night. It is a light that is beyond that obvious light. And that light is shining all the time. And it's a connection straight to your heart, because that is the light that is also shining within you and draws you back to the fullness of the light. It's a vibration, a resonance that can't be denied in the stillness of love. You feel this draw to come home to the light because it's your true nature. And it is a marvelous light that is all creation. Two bears. After a hard day's forage, two bears sat together in silence on a beautiful vista, watching the sun go down and feeling deeply grateful for life. Though after a while, a thought-provoking conversation began which turned to the topic of fame. The one bear said, "Did you hear about Rustum? He has become famous and travels from city to city in a golden cage. He performs to hundreds of people who laugh and applaud his carnival stunts." The other bear thought for a moment and then started weeping. The weeping, it happens because humanity has a certain awareness of the element of slavery. And that's what draws beloveds back to there must be another truth that's waiting to be discovered. Their friend the bear thought he'd found it by becoming famous and going from city to city in a golden cage where he performed. The outside of identity would be satisfied with the golden cage and the audience, the applause, the outside identity would be very happy with that. But the outside identity has been developed not only as a protection, but to guard against the fears that are within. The other bear began weeping because he recognized that his friend was caught in the outside identity, and that he couldn't see that the bars, even though they were gold, that was still a prison. The spiritual journey is one that looks like sacrifice so often, that there is a great sacrifice that is being asked for. The golden cage is being asked to be sacrificed, and the tricks and the performance and the fame. And even the material level often looks like it's being called to be sacrificed. But that's a misunderstanding. It's the coveting of the outside that is such a painful place. And that is what is being called to be surrendered, is the coveting. The fear that if you don't have the golden cage and the applause and the fame, that you will be less. And that's impossible, because nothing on the outside has any connection with the light that you are, the divine, exquisite spirit of perfection that you are. And that divine spirit could never be limited to a golden cage or find worth in needing applause or needing fame, proving worth. But the entire identity of being separate and being the identity that you believe you are, all of that is smoke and mirrors that have been really sold like a bill of goods. That if you get these things and you work for these things, you will finally find happiness, or sometimes even the word peace is used. But because there is no sacrifice, you are never asked to not have clothing that is helpful, or transportation that is helpful, or food that is helpful, or shelter that is helpful. All of everything comes from and through the grace of God. The poison of it is the coveting, and it is also the fear of loss. the fear of being without. And in the light of love, one of the essential elements to accept is that it isn't God's will for you to suffer. There is no suffering being called for. There is no sacrifice being called for. But can you accept the helpfulness of everything and yet trust that it will always be exactly what it is that you are really needing? Because that is what love always provides. That everything is always in harmony and peace and joy. And that harmony is that there can be no poverty. Poverty affirms the lack, the scarcity that is the ego's domain. But in that abundance of God's love, we don't know how it's provided. The abundance of God's love flows, and it flows in perfection, and that acceptance is a place of peace and trust. That you have not known the flow of love before consciously, so it's that place of a leap of faith. You don't have the cause and effect as evidence necessarily, but you can open and step out of the fear and know that you will always be provided for. Not know it from a place of an identity or a thought, but from the trust, from the faith that this is God's promise, that God's will is for your happiness and your peace, and will never take you in any direction that will not be in perfection. If that were not true, how would anybody make that leap of faith and really let go? If you let go and the promise is that you would let go and take a leap off the hill and you wouldn't die, and then you crashed and burned on the ground, the next lifetime is probably not going to be one of gung-ho, let's follow God. But God does not let you crash. I remember when I was first called and spiritually, and I was in a ritual, and I was terribly afraid of passing out, crashing, falling on the ground and breaking every bone. And I was told that if you fell, that you didn't really hit the ground. And as often as I crashed, I never hit the ground. That's the faith. It's metaphoric in that way, but it is a faith that God is not going to let you crash. Every day, every moment, there is a constant trusting, or there can be a constant trusting. Every situation has the opportunity of trusting outcome, of trusting the direction that's showing up, of trusting that you're held in love. These two bears that were sitting watching the sun go down were not drawn to the cage. And they were holding their friend in the waking up to the awareness that that wasn't where he was supposed to be either. That he could leave the cage and stop trying to prove his worth in any way. There's a word that doesn't necessarily get used very much spiritually, except maybe in general terms, and it's honesty. Honesty is a learning of love. And honesty is one with consistency. But the honesty that is the most exquisite is the honesty of the self-inquiry within that honestly wants to see what's in the way. Honestly, as deeply as possible, to truly want to be aware of what is in the way of peace. To really want to see the roadblocks that have been self-erected sometime in the past. And that honesty is such a loving gift, such an exquisite gift, because there's nothing in the false identity that has any honesty. It was never meant to be honest. It was meant to be a false identity of separation. And when the calling to love begins to stir, it brings with it a call to honesty. Because the honesty was actually what stirred the draw to the spiritual journey. There has to be something in a moment of recognition that what you have believed about yourself in the past could not possibly be the truth. What you have believed about who you think you are could not be the truth. And in the honesty is to accept at the very fullest way that you are perfect, that you are the creation of God, and that perfection is within. And that with honesty, you're going to meet it. And all that that means is that all of the outer identities of separation are let go. no longer revered, and no longer held as needing to be feared. Nothing to protect or defend anymore. Allowing yourself to be naked to God. That there's nothing to hide and there's nothing to run from. Because in your heart and in your hand you hold that you are the light of God, and that's where you are going into remembering. And that the Divine Mother is leading you to that center of truth that you are. That all of creation is leading you there. If you pray for the truth to be illuminated within you, it will be. It always is. The truth of love is so happy to accommodate. It doesn't always look like you may want it to look by the ego's standards. One of the first spiritual jokes I ever saw was the joke of a man sitting in a lotus position meditating, and a bubble above his head saying, "Lord, I want to awaken to the truth of all being, but I don't want my life to change." And that touched me so deeply, because there was such an honesty within it, because I could really feel already the resistance to having my life change. And yet, it was most helpful that it did. And that it was orchestrated in that way to make shifts and changes as it was most helpful. And that there was a divine intelligence of the universe and of love that was orchestrating everything, and that it was always in perfection. All that trust, all that faith, to just let it move, to let it move you. And love does. The power of love is the healing. And every beloved just has to show up and just say yes. Honesty is consistency. And you can always count that love is honest and it is always consistent. It never changes. It doesn't have highs and lows. It is always perfectly consistent. Everything that changes, everything that shifts, is the delusional state of separation. If something is temporary, it's just an image. It's not the reality of love. It will disappear. But the truth of love will stay changeless. It cannot change. It will stay permanent, and it will never be anything else, because it's everything. And that's the truth of you. You are one with all creation. There is nothing that holds you within this form other than that it may be helpful. But in truth, in your divine spirit, you can take on other shapes and forms. It's not a parlor trick, and it's not made to be a parlor trick, but it's the realization that all of these forms are temporary, so they can be shifted and changed. One of the gifts of the teacher known as Sai Baba was his ability to produce ash, sacred ash, it was called, Vibhuti. And the purpose of that ash was to break the spell of limitation and to break the spell of knowing, because here was a mystery of how this ash came from nothing and appeared in the palm of his hands through the power of God. And it was all to demonstrate that there was nothing that could not be divinely produced by the power of the Spirit. Nothing was mysterious to God. But there is so much mystery to the spiritual journey that there's no way but that you have to trust. How could you go from being a particular identity to an awareness of being the universe without the exquisite brilliance of being led into every perfect moment and being unraveled from every belief of separation? The miracle of love is in your hands. You bring miracles of love to every beloved that you're willing to see as the light of God and to see only their innocence, their purity, their perfection. And the miracle is yours as you accept each beloved. You offer the miracle and you receive the miracle. The miracle is yours, the transformation. And that miracle is brought by the Spirit of love. But it is for you to offer it. You have that power because that light is within you. It isn't an obligation. It's the gift. And that gift is the recognition that you have the power of God in your heart because it's what you are. It's who you are. There's a beautiful prayer that says, "Love is the life that I am. I have no other life but the life of love." That's the truth. But it's opening to that divine beingness, that love is the life you live, and you have no other life because you are that love. And that is the purpose, complete purpose of the beloved who walked this earth as Jesus. His incarnation was only to offer that same teaching, that there was only the life of love, and that the invitation was in that calling to recognize that there was no death, and that that light, that Christ light, was you. There was a question asked at one time of Mary Magdalene. The question was, did she have children, and was she having those children with Jesus? And the answer was so perfect, because the answer was, why would you waste time thinking about whether I had children or not, instead of receiving the message of returning home and recognizing that you are the children that were born of the union of love. You are that child that is on the earth plane now, remembering the truth of oneness and to bring the light of the Christ. The children are here. To accept that you are the child of that light and you are that light is to allow the healing of all the false identities that have been carried, no matter what. No matter what. There is healing potential in every day and in every actual moment. And the potential is only because it's either being accepted as a yes or it's being rejected as a no. And that everyone has free will. So it's part of the journey is that the recognition of what you truly want. Oh, that's right. I want to not be miserable. I don't want to be in pain anymore. And the way out of the pain is the way to love. There is no pain in love. There is a beautiful teaching that speaks about the attraction of pain. Why would anybody be attracted to pain? And yet that is the state of separation, the attraction to pain. The belief that you need to suffer in some way. It's a deep place that everybody carries, that something has to be suffered for some vague reasoning. And all the while, Spirit and all divine beings are saying, no, 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 no. You don't have to suffer. It's a bill of goods. You've been sold before. You can let it go. There is no suffering. You don't have to suffer. And you don't have to earn your way. It's just the willingness to be led. The Rainha da Floresta, I will follow where you lead. The Blessed Mother is patiently available for comfort 24/7. Take the leap of faith and ask for that comfort. And ask for the wisdom and ask for the deep connection of the Blessed Mother. Blessed Mother that was called the Virgin Mary because of the exquisite purity that is a reflection of every beloved. A light so bright that it can hardly be looked at with the eyes of the body. Let that light be recognized within. Pure light of God. Those aren't just words. It's what you are. And it's the letting go of the cage and riding around in the cage and performing for anybody anymore. Presenting yourself as something separate. To present yourself as something separate could bring weeping, because it would be settling for something so small, so insignificant, when you are the light of the world. And you don't have to present that because it's not individualized. It's in the union of love. You are that light. Imagine the universe or the world and all of humanity without the aspect of coveting or any kind of jealousy or anything of believing that somebody has something or should have something or you have something that somebody else doesn't have. All of the ideas of coveting, greed, having, collecting, fear, and releasing it all into the hands of God. Surrendering it all back to the Holy Spirit, that it's no longer yours, it's no longer an ownership of stuff. You give it back to God and let it be sacred use. Let it be a beautiful loan from the universe. But that there's nothing you have to hold and protect. It's all yours. The universe, the flow, the love, the light, it's all yours. And you don't earn it. It's just acceptance. And resting in that acceptance. Truly resting. One of the teachings that I learned when I was called to sit with a teacher is he said simply, and he kept repeating it, I'm nobody. I'm nobody. And it was such a gift because it kept opening. He was not a body. He was nobody. And he was rejecting any identity as meaning nothing. And he was joyous in that declaration. So the gifts were pouring. And how beautiful of a song it became. I'm nobody. And with each declaration, like a new little window opened of identity that was ready to be rejected, let go, surrendered. And as the pieces and parts of identity disappear, what opens is peace. What opens is joy, which is always here. But it's very difficult to embody the joy and the peace when all the attention of the mind and everything is in ownership or in being somebody. It takes a lot of work. What an exquisite, peaceful place that you have nothing to protect and nothing to defend. That the light within you is it's your credential. It's your pass. You're just the light of God. You don't have to, and you can't prove anything about yourself. There's nothing to prove. You are beyond anything to prove. And at the same time, the grain of sand and the whole universe, all the same. And you are everything. I was shown one time that when you look at the sky and you can really see the stars when you're in a place that doesn't have any light to distract, that even with the eyes, you can see that all of these stars, and that every single one is a divine being. Every single one has walked the earth. Every single one has returned to the light that it is, in the divine intelligence of love. They are all beloveds. They are all friends. They are all one with you. You are never alone. You are always in the oneness of all creation. And it's just opening more and more to that awareness and inviting and resting within it. As you forgive all of the false identities, the truth of your true self opens. I will follow where you lead is a happy place. It's not a walk to the guillotine. It's the joy of following. It's the joy of being led. It's the comfort of that. The Christ light is shining in you now. And we celebrate the Christ light in deep gratitude.